Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy, an identity coach helping others who struggle with their sexual identity and families of queer youth find their path of understanding and acceptance.
And I'm Carla, a mom empowerment coach empowering moms to own their new identities and motherhood journeys.
And together we are the EFFing Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It. Happy Monday.
I feel like we're both so tired, so I'm like, happy Monday, everybody.
Tired and sick.
You're sick. I'm tired. But we're here.
We're here. We're making it happen.
Carla, who are we?
We are the EFFing Madres. This is a podcast that we started over a year ago now. Because we both had that like, fuck this, like, let's do something, let's make a change. And the start of our Eff It moments have been starting this podcast together, but it has definitely led to our individual growths for sure on our journeys. And so Eff It moments, just a reminder, are not always so pretty. and they take a long time sometimes. But that's what this is for. It's to help moms support moms through those big Eff It moments, because you know, when you're about to have one or you're in the midst of one, it can feel like you can feel like a hot mess. But hearing stories of women that have gone through it or that are currently going through it, and are feeling the same way we're feeling or felt the same way we're feeling, it's just the validation that, you know, we're uncomfortable because we're changing, we're moving towards the things we want, and that can be scary. And it is very scary to take that first step. So we hope this podcast and these stories encourage those moms that are like on the brink of that moment to just go ahead and go for it, because you know it will be better on the other side no matter what.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said it. Like, we had our Eff It moment by starting this podcast, which then led us into coaching, which then has actually led us into an entire year of so much like self-reflection and healing and realizing parts of ourselves we didn't really know. And I don't think, had we taken a step to like getting into talking to moms and creating a community and like creating this space and going to coaching school, I don't really know what this last year would have looked like for me personally. In my own self-reflection, right? It was like by doing that, and you and I keep just going at it. Okay, we're going to do this. I guess this is next. I guess we're in this. And it was like, it opened up a whole new like vision for me of my own journey. So
Yeah.
it's, you really don't know
No,
what it's going to do for you.
you really don't. You really don't. And we will have to do an episode on this, because there have definitely been a lot of things that I've become aware of myself that I had no idea, and some things I didn't really like, you know, that I had to like really be like, oh shit, okay, I got to look at that. But that's what happens. That's what happens when you grow, you know? So,
and it's a vulnerable space to come on here and tell your story, but I think it's healing for, at least it has been for us and for some of the moms who've come on. It's healing to share it and revisit it and say it. It's just like when you write something out, you know, it's just like to be like, oh wow, I did that. And then it inspires other women. And today's Madre is somebody that I have followed on social media. She's beautiful. I've followed her journey. She became a mom. I think we are drawn to other moms that we kind of connect with or relate to through social media, right? We follow their journeys, which is like a new way of motherhood too, because that didn't exist for like our parents. They didn't like follow other moms' lives that they didn't know, right? But we do see these moms and we follow them. And so I have followed her, and she is in Long Beach, where I'm from. She had moved back there. She had seen that I was, and I reached out and I was like, hey, if you had an Eff It moment, like, I'd love to have you on. And she was absolutely had an Eff It moment and absolutely wanted to come on. And I love that.
all right.
So I'm excited.
Great.
I have no idea what her Eff It moment was, and I'm excited to hear it. And yeah, and just get to actually meet her via, you know, the internet.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm excited as well. I like these surprises. Sometimes we don't know what we're getting. So,
I do too.
yeah, looking forward to hearing her. All right, we're gonna bring her on in just a sec. Okay, everyone, we have Heaven. It's Heavenly.
Yeah.
Heavenly on, and we're gonna jump right into the question. So, Heaven, our first question for you is, what was your biggest effort moment since becoming a mom?
My biggest effort moment since becoming a mom was publicizing that I became a single mom. Um, I hadn't told any of my friends or family really what was going on in the first 2 years of being a mom. And all that anybody really knew was, the good moments that I had with my son. That's what you post on the internet, and that's what your community sees. And um, I was so proud of myself for what I had done becoming a single mom and getting out of a really, really hard situation. And I decided, well, I was so consumed by my reality, first of all, that I just didn't even know how to show up besides exactly where I was. And so I made that move on my son's second birthday to just like post about, becoming a single mom and how proud I was. And it was very scary because I had to be honest with myself and others, but also I was kind of like airing out a little gracefully, but airing out a bit of dirty laundry, it felt. And so I was very nervous about it, but I also felt like I was walking through a door to somewhere new, somewhere honest, somewhere open. And full circle, I think that that post is why I'm sitting here with you guys. Because I had mentioned it, and it is something that I want to talk about, and I wish that I had talked about it sooner with other people, and asked for help and support. Because the more you're honest about those things, the less, I don't know, at least in my experience, the less you have to carry the burden by yourself, and you can be supported.
That's exactly what this kind of space is community. And so like me reaching out to you to say, "Hey, can you come on and share an effort moment?" Not really knowing what it was, but you being like, "You know what? Yes." Like, "Yeah, sure. I'll go on and share that." That's another step, right? And like, I'm going to be
Yeah,
open. I'm going to share this. Like, this is a very public platform, right? You're in a space now to share it that I'm sure you weren't in at that time.
totally. Totally.
And
Yeah.
so many women and so many moms, I was a single mom. I've been a single mom as well. Like, I've gone through the divorce and publicly and all that stuff. My question then would be to you is like, what hurdles, if any, did you encounter as you made that shift and started to become public with your story?
Um, I think to be fully transparent, I think the hurdle really came from, uh, there was actually less hurdles, to be honest. It was very liberating. Also to kind of remove the stigma of what it meant to be a single mom. Like, it totally reshifted my mind. Like, it was such a powerful term now. And I come from a single mom, and it was a very different experience than my son is having. My mom was really abusive, and so I had a really traumatic experience growing up. And the what I went through with my son's father, I think that's kind of the biggest hurdle. So that was my, like, that was where a lot of the fear came from to even post that, because I was like, oh wow, I've been spending 2 years, like, I won't tell anybody what I'm going through. I'm going to have a smile on my face. And when you do that, you kind of energetically send the message that, like, it's okay to keep living that way. And so I think that was the only hurdle really in that experience, was like, what kind of backlash is going to come from this on that side? And that, but I was willing to be okay with that because I had
Mhm.
spent 2 years living
On
my
the other
life,
end.
yes, on the other end. And it was literally debilitating and killing me,
Mhm.
and draining me of who I was, and pretending to be in a reality I wasn't in. And it's stifling, and it hurts. And then your children experience that version of you who walks on eggshells, and doesn't speak up for themselves. And anyone who knows me knows that's so not me. And how long do you do that before you completely lose yourself and that becomes your new norm? So I was willing to put up with whatever just to
Mhm.
be in reality with myself and with my friends and my family.
I think it's
Mm.
important for anyone listening too, because I've been there. Carla's been there with me through situations like that. And I think when you said, anyone who knows you knows like that's like not what you would normally do or who you are. We've talked to another mom as well on the podcast in similar situation. And for anyone listening, like anyone can find themselves in these situations. And you might think you are the strongest, badass, I don't take shit from no one woman, and you're not. You can find yourself in situations like that. So when you say that, I need you to know, like, I hear you, I see you, and it's important that any woman listening, like, if you're quiet or silent,
Yes. Yeah.
you got to break free, and,
You
and
have
and it
to.
can happen to anybody.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was really, unfortunately, easy for me to go to that place because of the trauma with my mom growing up, because the feelings were so similar, and I haven't actually experienced that come up since I was a kid with my mom. I don't speak to my mom. I haven't in years, so it hasn't really been something that I've had to deal with, and I think if you're doing life right, the people you choose will bring those things up, even if they're around forever or not. And this just happened to be like the big one, and so I think it was really important for my healing process in general to kind of remind myself of what I was doing, what I had slipped into, and to get out of it.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, when you said that you were withholding this information, was it because you were fearful of the relationship itself? Were you fearful of what people would think of you, or were you just in pure denial and like, I'm not going to put anything out because nothing's wrong type of thing? I'm just curious.
I was, first of all, brand new mom, and I was I was very isolated. It was 2020 when I became pregnant. The world was, who knew what was going to go
So is
on?
Carla.
So I lived in the mountains and I was literally by myself, and I was so in like nesting mode, and I was very occupied being a mom, number one. But number two, I think I grew up not sharing a lot with people because I didn't have help. So it's not something I expect to get. I was absolutely not in denial. I was just trying to like figure out, how far do I let this go? Because I think when you become a mom too, you try so hard to like hang on to that like nuclear family idea just for your kid, and you're like, how much work can we put into this until we can get it right? And you just have to be honest sometimes and go like, there's no amount of work that's going to make this exact situation right. And I realized later, like, I can still have that dynamic. It's just
Mhm.
maybe not going to be this person.
Mhm.
And the stakes are so much higher when you have a kid, and when you're dealing with someone who is not having conversations in reality with resolution involved. And now, I mean, it's just so explosive, and so I think I felt helpless
Mhm.
and isolated, like I said, and I just really didn't know how. And I essentially just let it get to this point, which my son was 1 when I left, so it wasn't like I was there forever. But I definitely knew from a very early, the pre-sun, like during pregnancy, I was like, this isn't gonna work. And so I was trying so hard to do it, and I didn't want anyone to think I was failing at it. Um, but I knew.
Heaven, I have a lot of divorced moms. Like my group here in Austin is probably majority remarried, dating, single, divorced moms finding themselves. And I had a quote the other day, and it was just like about like the freedom and the strength it is to leave. People don't give people, they look at you like you failed, right? Like you failed this image of this family and you're letting
Yeah,
everyone down, when in fact you didn't fail yourself and you didn't fail your kid. You did something really hard and scary that takes a lot of strength so
yeah,
that
this
you
was a
could be.
choice I
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should be
Definitely.
honored. People are like, "Why aren't people throwing people divorce parties at this point in life?" Like, we need to wake
Yes.
up. We need to wake
Yes.
up. It takes a lot to do this. And the
Yeah.
idea of staying with something that is unhealthy and toxic for ourselves and our children are what so many of our parents did. It's what we grew up watching people do. And it did nothing for any of us. They should have all
No.
fucking got a divorce, okay? And saved us
Yeah.
all the fucking therapy bills.
Well, that was a huge thing with my son. I was just like, my son's gonna either grow up with the same behavior or the
Mhm.
same reactions that I'm having. Something I know the consequences of this going on too long. I know what it
Yeah.
is, and so I think I so badly wanted to like figure out. I don't know. I'm a very spiritual person as well. Just to like dig deeper into your question, Carla. I was like not understanding like how I'm like, is this supposed to work? You know, because you kind of are like, is okay, maybe not, but also you. I don't know. I was really just trying to like intuitively understand what I was supposed to do, even though I knew exactly what I was supposed to
Yes.
do.
Mm,
Yeah,
mhm.
Yes.
So your gut was telling you the whole time, but you were just trying to fight it. Mhm.
I was trying to do the right thing, and I think we get confused about the right thing in those moments.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the right thing has been taught to us that you stand by your partner, you stay, you don't leave your family. That's not a good wife. That's not a good mom. And that whole narrative, like it's a different time, it's a different place. And
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
have a chance to have that family that you want. It just
Hmm.
may not be with that person.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I hadn't even considered that really at that time. And now I'm like, oh, and I do have someone in my life now. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like, I'm actually having that experience. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how lucky am I? This
Yeah.
is not what I had planned on, but it's better.
That's how it works.
So the next question, so obviously the impact that this had with your on your relationship with your partner was done, you left. But what did having this moment, what sort of impact did that have with your son and with the significant relationships in your life that were closest to you?
Oh my gosh. So once I became open with my family, a certain part of my family, it has been so healing because they completely support me. They've helped me along this journey like immensely. And I've never had that in my life. And so it's been healing for me, like my inner child who was always like seeking help and needed help. And now I'm having this like really deep connection with my family. And I talk to my aunt every single day on the phone, like multiple times a day. And like she's pretty much my mom. And so that's been so healing. Just now I have this connection with my family that I've never had before. And it's because they know this struggle. I have a lot of single moms in my family, and they're just like, why didn't you tell us? You know, we want to help you. This is crazy. You're such a good mom. Like you've done so well in life. And so to feel that has been so healing. My friends are incredibly supportive all the way around. And my son, I mean, I can like it's so visceral. I can remember moving into my new place, just my son and myself, and feeling like weight come off of me and to dance around the house and to talk on the phone to a friend the way that I talk and to just express myself and be myself. And I could watch my son like blossoming more into himself because I was more myself and I was watching it, you know, and I have chills thinking about it. And it was one of those validating experiences of like, yeah, this is exactly what you were supposed to do.
You don't know that you have people there until you put yourself in a position to let people be there, you know?
Woo, that
And the
part.
stories, but the stories we tell ourselves, like when you said that you didn't grow up with a lot of help, I that like hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm the same way. And
Yeah.
so like you assume that you've got to go through life doing everything yourself. And if you
Yes.
ask for help, then it shows you're weak. And then the minute that you do, it's almost like you're almost so surprised and shocked, like, oh my God, this is what like I've been missing this. If I
It's
only would have just put
crazy.
myself out there sooner, it's a beautiful
Yes.
thing to finally see that.
Yes. You know, and these are the lessons I think we learn too, like, and we go like, God, I never want my kid to feel this way. I never want my kid to think he or she can't just come and talk to me about something or ask me for help or ask me for money or advice or whatever. It's like, of course you know, I don't deserve to feel that way because I know my kids don't deserve to feel that way. Yeah, the help thing that was a really big lesson. Like I never let anybody in, which is part of the reason no one knew what I was going through. It was just not in my makeup. I had never experienced doing that before, and the shit had to hit the fan for me to be like, I need help. I
Sometimes
really
when
need
that
help.
shit hits that fan, like, it's life-changing. Like, it sucks in the
Totally.
middle of it, but what's on the other side sometimes when it hits the fan, like, I almost broke into shattered pieces a year ago, and it honestly saved my life.
Yes. And
Like
now I feel so comfortable. Like I'll have a
mhm.
hiccup in the day and I'm like calling everybody, like trying to talk about it now.
And I think so many of us that come from broken homes, right, or relationships that weren't, like, visually like what we've wanted to have growing up. We somewhere inside of us try to create that when we become moms. I've seen so
Oh
many
yeah.
of me and my friends be like, we're trying to create this perfect vision because we didn't have it, right? But we're also doing it with like no tools that were taught to us. So like
And
it's
like
kind
no
of
help.
no help, no idea. I'm like, I don't know what this is supposed to look like, but I saw it on a movie and that's what we're gonna have. And then you're in
Yeah.
it and you're like, this is not the movie. This is
No.
a shit show.
And we put so much weight on ourselves when we do that too, like this perfectionist thing, because we so badly don't want to be a product of our environment. And then that's a whole other thing to work through, right? Like,
I always say if I show my daughter anything that I didn't get growing up, it's been a struggle. I want her to see me love someone and someone love me, right? In a really healthy way because I never saw that. So if we stick with people and we teach our children that that's what love looks like, well, that's what they go into the world then expecting love to look like, right? It's this pattern that we all do. And there was this
totally.
quote today that was like somebody in the generation of the family's got to break that story. Someone's got to break
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Like that's to be that person is like sometimes you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm tired.
So my next question then would be what fears do you experience like during this as you're doing this now as you're speaking publicly on a podcast and sharing things on Instagram? What are your fears?
My fears. If I'm being really honest, I feel like the last 2.5 years have been some of the hardest of my life. That I actually feel like I'm being spit out of it on the other side, and I don't really have any right now. Like I honestly, I really feel like I've paid my dues or something, and there's been a lot of really beautiful things that have happened over the last few months, like beyond what I could have ever imagined. And it just really makes me feel like I'm totally on the right path and it was not hard for nothing. And I have like regular fears of like, I'm a single mom and it's like, okay, I want to set my son up financially when he's older and those types of things. I think like logistically as a single person raising a kid, you're trying to pull the weight of so
Right.
many as one person, and I think that's a just a normal thing we go through. So those are fears of mine, but I don't know, I feel so happy to be talking to you guys. Like
Aw.
this is so nice to like share this space with you and to be here talking with you and for you guys to be talking to women in this way and letting everybody relate.
Yeah.
And all of the fears like that could come with that. I don't know. I feel like everything else just outweighs it at this point in my life.
I want to say with what you said, like we don't have this space without your stories, right? We don't have this community without people being vulnerable and it is courageous to share like what you've been through, but what you're doing is helping another mom or another woman who's in their car listening to this, going through this, needing someone to relate to. And as mothers and the community that you didn't maybe know was out there for you,
Yeah.
right? Is
Yeah.
that like we need to hear each other's stories and we need to like share them so that we don't feel so alone. So we don't end up in those spaces
Definitely.
where we're silent.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, when I was really in the dark with everything in the darkness,
Mhm.
if I was proactively listening to something like this, it would have meant so much to me at that time. Truly,
Mm.
truly.
Thank
Well, that
you.
kind of touches on this next question in a way, which is I want you to go back to that moment where you finally were just like, fuck this, like I'm done. What sort of emotions were you going through? Because I'm sure that there are someone out there who is in a situation like this, who is feeling those things that you're feeling, and just hearing you express like what you were going through at that moment when you finally decided might be really helpful for someone to take that next step if they need to get out of something.
Oh man. I think this is very dependent on how bad your situation really is, but um if you're my whole thing is like, if I'm in a situation where two people can't put our children first or my child first, like even if we're arguing or things are getting really out of control or whatever it may be, if you can't even hold your tongue for another time to be alone and do that, for me that was like, there's no fucking way.
Mhm.
There's no fucking way. There's nothing to even work through here because the damage is being done in real time. I'm watching it happen. I'm here for it. My son is here for it. And the only way out of this, because you don't have control over yourself, is for me to remove myself. And that's just me like having the really deep understanding of the consequences of a child going through that type of thing on a regular basis. And um so in those moments, I think that the feelings I had were honestly fury and like for my son, and just like,
Mhm.
I mean, fury is a real it's just really like just my blood boiling, and not like at this person, but like I can't stop this. I just can't stop it. So I have to remove myself. I have to.
Heaven, it's like we spend so much time being these badass, strong women, right? Like, and I take you being as one of those type of like independent, strong women, right? Like, and it's one thing when we're protecting ourselves, something changes. And I
Mm.
think that's why this is important. Something changes when we become mamas.
Oh
And
yeah. It's like a light
like,
switch.
yeah, like it's night and day. And now you're now protecting your baby in a way that you didn't even protect yourself. Like maybe you thought you were some badass and protected yourself, but you accepted so much more bullshit.
Really.
Then you become a mom, and when that bullshit that's going to you goes to your kid, it's like like it's a whole nother level, right? And
It's
so
primal.
it is primal, and I feel that too. It is 100% primal. There is something about that mama bear that comes in, and I've been in those situations. I've seen friends in those situations. It happens more often than people know because we don't talk.
Yeah.
Everyone's silent, and we don't post it on social media.
Yep.
So this is more common than we know.
Yes.
It's just no one's fucking talking about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you're in a situation where you're that really primal thing is kicking in as a mom, I feel like there are also people who want to make you seem like that's crazy or
Hmm.
like that's extra. And the truth is, it is a light switch. It's not controllable. This is literally like biologically something changed when I became pregnant, and it's never gonna unchange.
You can't go back.
It's
Yeah.
never going back. And if you're a threat, you're a threat. Like it just is what it is.
And that anger and that fury, like it's not actually a negative thing a
No.
lot of the times. Like for you, it got you out of your situation. For a lot of the times when we get to a point in our life where we're just so angry with our situation, that is a sign that's like,
Yes.
okay, this anger is telling me that this is enough. I need to
Yeah.
get the fuck out of this. That's
Yeah.
it. Fuck that. So anger is actually quite useful in those situations. It
And
gets you to get off your ass.
I think so. And I think like just to kind of like make peace, makes gets take some peace out of that, or put peace into this situation. Like everybody's got their own traumas, right? And like we all respond differently to life. And um I think that was also, even in like the hardest moment of leaving and all those things, in the back of my mind, if I could look really far into the future, outside of the anger and the present moment, what I always wanted was for my child to at least have two happy homes. You know, like that's the goal. It's like this didn't work and that's okay. And time really helps things. I think co-parenting is hard for most, but it time is a healer in a lot of ways. And you have to look ahead and just go like this sucks right now, but what is like the absolute best outcome? Not the
That's it.
perfect outcome, but the best
Best.
outcome.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was always my like main intention. And I think that that's something like, nothing's perfect, but if I look back from today, it's a hell of a lot more perfect than it was.
So
Mhm.
You
that
know?
actually is like up to the last question. And I'm glad you said that. If you looked back like on today, like what would you tell yourself then that you know
Mm.
now?
I would say just go. Just go. And I would tell myself to remember everything that I've been through and to look at how far that I've come and to do what I know is best, and everything will come to me just like it always has.
Yeah,
You know?
100%. Yeah. And any mom listening, for anyone who's in this situation, and you tapped on it, and I think it's important to know it is hell. It is hard, and sometimes you don't think you're going to have two happy homes or ever be able to co-parent. Time
Yeah.
does heal. Time does heal. I have a beautiful co-parenting
Yeah.
relationship. Carla's watched the evolution of that, and I am grateful for it.
Right.
And it took time and love and putting your kid first, but
Yes.
you've got, I always tell people, like, love your kid more than you hate your partner, right? Love your kid more than you hate your ex.
Oh, totally.
Like, it's that
Yeah.
simple.
I think another really, I think something we also forget in these moments, we're so concerned with like the co-parent, us and our kid, that we don't even stop to think about what life has in store for us as individuals once we move forward.
Mhm.
Like there's so many things that have happened in my life since then where
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I can release all kinds of things because I'm me again, and I have love in my life, and I have this in my life, and you forget how much those things impact you, and you're not thinking about that in that moment.
Mhm.
I mean, that's part of, right, Carla? This journey has been like, yeah, we're moms, but who are we, right? Who are we when we're not
Right.
just moms surviving and protecting our children and surviving pandemics and protecting our kids from who the hell are we? We're still women. We're just new women.
Yes.
We're just
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
versions.
Yes, and
Right.
it's really hard. It's hard to even think about that when everything else is so heavy.
Yeah. And
So
the only
I think
way
that's a good thing to look forward to when if you do get out of a situation, like there's also that to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any situation that someone's in, like if it's not feeling authentic to you, if you're feeling like you have to shrink yourself or hide yourself, it's not gonna go well.
No.
You're eventually gonna break. It's either gonna be now or few years down the line. If you're feeling it right now, just as hard as that decision might be,
Yeah.
it's better for everyone in the long run, especially your children, to just get
Just
out
F
of
and go.
yeah,
Just
just effing go.
go.
Because
Go.
being happy, being a happy mom will be your children will be happy, your partners will be happy, your friendships, every the energy you put out was only going to bring amazing things to you when you were finally in that place.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. When you're under pressure, it's really hard to attract the things you really want in life.
oh,
You can't. It's
100%.
it's
Yeah.
almost impossible, it's almost
Yeah.
impossible, but, I mean, we are
Yeah.
really grateful, Carla, and I know we were gonna say this,
Yeah.
like, we're really grateful that you came on. We really appreciate raw, vulnerable stories. We need them,
Yes.
and not
Mhm.
everyone is in a space to do that, and we're grateful because this is how we have this space for people is like by you coming on and sharing the
Thank
story.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Where can people follow you? Where can people, is there anything you want to promote or share?
Um, Not necessarily.
Fine.
I'm still catching my footing as a single
Okay,
mom in my new place.
that's perfect.
But my Instagram is Heavenly. This is a really fun experience because I want to share so much about what this experience is for people, and also how like your childhood trauma affects this type of situation. So I just feel very grateful to be here with you guys, and I'm glad that we made it work because it
Yeah,
fell through
we
a
did.
couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl, we get it.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody's like, "Hey, I don't have a babysitter," or "Hey, I can't make it happen," like the words that they're true to our heart. We barely
Yes.
make this happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Thank
right,
you
Well,
guys.
well,
Heaven, yes, thank you so much for like Romy said, being vulnerable, coming on here, taking the time, sharing your amazing story. It's gonna resonate with even if it's just one. That's all that matters. That's what I
Yeah.
always say. Like even if it's just
Yeah.
one person that's impacted by a story, that's all that matters. And
Yes.
so this is where we're gonna say
just
Just
F
F
F
it.
it.
it.